Welcome back to the Sense of Life podcast. My name is Cody,
I'm Joe.
and today we watched a movie, and we also read a book. We haven't done that since I think episode 6. I think was Audition,
Yeah, I think so.
and we really enjoyed reading, so we decided to do it again for once in our lives. We read Elmore Leonard's 1987 novel Touch, and watched Paul Schrader's 1997 adaptation, starring, who was it? Bridget Fonda, Skeet Ulrich, and Christopher Walken. It was a fucking 90s movie, is what it was.
It was.
So do we want to... I think normally we would start with a book, but do we want to talk about the movie first, or?
I think I'd probably have more to say about the movie. And some of the things I have to say about the book rely on the context of how different the movie was.
Okay, so we'll start with the movie and just see how it kind of jumps in, or kind of mixes in with the book. I guess first thing is, what did we think of both of them?
Well, I can say I preferred the book.
Yeah.
The movie was... It went a completely different direction than I thought it would, while still somewhat being pretty literal to the book, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
The book has some funny moments and some dialogue that's kind of snappy and funny, but the movie, it was almost like a screwball comedy.
Yeah.
Very strange.
I think I was looking at the Letterboxd reviews, which is where you go to see the most depraved, socially inept Elliot Rodgers of the world. And they said that this was a satire. I didn't really see it as a satire. To me, the movie played more broad comedy than either satire or the more straightforward novel. The novel, Elmore Leonard is funny. He has a sense of humor. And so I was laughing through quite a bit of the novel, but the movie plays it as a straight comedy as opposed to a straight mystery, which is interesting. And like you said, it pretty much it's kind of like they say Rosemary's Baby is I haven't read the novel, but it's pretty much a straight up adaptation. Almost I think Paul Schrader might have just had the book open on set, at times.
Yeah. To the point where there were... I think this happened twice that I noticed. Or maybe the first time I wasn't too sure if I had just missed the line, but the second time I definitely know they didn't do this, where they cut out a section from the story of a thing that happens, but then a piece of dialogue immediately afterward references... The line of dialogue doesn't make sense without the previous context happening in the movie, but it just didn't.
Yeah.
But it did happen in the book, so they kept lines that rely on things that were no longer there. So that was that was kind of funny. The first time, and I might have just missed the line. They're in a club. It's the scene where the fucking right wing crazy guy joins them in that gentleman's club. Yeah, and he's talking to the lady who said she was a Catholic, and then he's like, oh, you mean former Catholic? And in the book he says something along the lines of you don't need to jump in mud to know that it'll get you dirty, or something like that. And after he says that line, the woman says, I knew you were going to say that thing about the mud. She said that line in the movie, and I don't know if I just wasn't paying attention, but I don't remember him saying the thing about jumping in the mud getting you dirty. So it's just it just seemed
I'm pretty sure he did say it.
Okay, maybe I just wasn't paying attention at that particular part, but there was a part later where they definitely referenced something
I could have also Mandela affected it into my own head.
Yeah.
So we could both be wrong, or
we both also finished reading the book today and watched the movie today, so these scenes are fairly near the end of both the book and the movie, so
we're really bad procrastinators. We're trying to work on that.
Yeah.
Sorry, taking a drink.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Maybe we should start writing things out before we record.
Anyway, the most notable thing about the movie compared to, well, I guess you can't really compare it to the book because there's no music playing throughout a book, but unless you listen to music while you read the book. The soundtrack was like a Nickelodeon film.
Yeah.
Where there's just like generic upbeat kind of poppy music in the background at times. And according to Wikipedia, the soundtrack of the movie was composed by Dave Grohl. Just that shit could be made up for all I know. That is unbelievable.
He's the founder of the Foo Fighters.
Well, I know. I know.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying it's the fact that he did the music for this movie is fucking insane.
That's fair.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, there were scenes out of it that it felt like watching Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed or some shit.
Scooby-Doo vibes.
It was, it was the scene when he's describing St. Augustine, which it goes to show how like bizarre and wildly different Paul Schrader took this novel than the way I took it when I read it. Because as we've been kind of leaning towards, I took it completely straight. Like I did not. It was funny, but I did not see any like jokey style to it.
Right, there was humor, but it wasn't a comedy. The movie is very much a comedy. You're talking about the scene where, like in the book, it's just straight dialogue of him explaining, like talking about saints that had this stigmata.
Yes, and he specifically talks about Saint Augustine because his name is also August, and he. The movie plays like you described it as like a fucking Spike TV reenactment.
it did. It was like a Deadliest Warrior cutaway.
Yeah.
Where
it was on the cutting room floor of Deadliest Warrior.
Yeah, and it's Tom Arnold's character August describing what happened to Saint Augustine, and it's these guys in really shitty Roman costumes out of like a porn parody, and him having boiling water poured on his head, and it's just water. But he's like he's just telling the story, and it looks so bad that it was hilarious.
He's getting whipped by those like Passion of the Christ fucking things.
He was getting flayed, and then he's like, and then he said something along the lines of like, and the emperor fucking like died, and he had a heart attack, and you can see the guy that's pretending to have a heart attack like smiling, like smirking as he's dying.
Yeah,
it was such a surreal. It was almost like the tone you get from the fake commercials in RoboCop or in like Starship Trooper.
Yeah.
But not straight satire like that, but it had a similar like what the hell kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, it's more broad comedy than like satirical winking comedy, which I kind of liked. I liked that part of it. But
I suppose we should actually like clarify what the story is even about, because we're just talking.
Yeah,
about,
I was just thinking about
stigmata and Saint Augustine and stuff.
So basically, Skeet Ulrich is this turns out to be a faith healer. Mm-hmm. Goes by the name Juvenile, which great scene with that. We might talk about it later. Mm-hmm. He has the ability of lay on hands. If anyone is a D&D player, it's a paladin ability where they can touch you and heal you up.
He mastered That's basically what he does. Restoration skill is what you're saying.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And So what happens is he'll go up to like some sick child or something, and he'll get the urge to like put his hands on them, which sounds creepier than it is. Um,
Yeah.
and when he touches them and the power works, the stigmata, which is the marking on the inner palms and the feet, which we don't really see in the movie, but it's talked about in the book.
Yeah.
Of where Jesus was nailed to the cross, and also where the on the side of like, I don't know exactly where it is, but where the Roman soldier stabbed him to finish him off, basically.
Right. So it's like these saintly figures who experience the wounds that Jesus sustained while being crucified, basically.
Yes. And the belief goes that there's this lineage of saints that have experienced this stigmata at some like specific like period of faith in their life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not Catholic, so I don't really know what the whole deal is. But the book actually I don't even know if the movie mentions this, but the book actually talks a lot about Padre Pio, which
I don't think they mentioned him once in the movie.
I don't think so. And so this is why I think the novel plays much more serious than the movie, because it feels like a lot of those scenes of talking about Padre Pio are like actual attempts at like talking about religion in an interesting way, which is it's weird because Paul Schrader is kind of known for that, and he doesn't do it here, which is interesting. I mean, he wrote The Last Temptation of Christ for Scorsese. He did Hardcore, which is about him growing like the Calvinist sect that he grew up with. So he does a lot. There's First Reformed, which I'd never seen. So he does a lot of stuff with religion, but the novel he adapts that has to do with religion,
he gutted a lot of it.
Yeah, it's very strange.
It made the character of August feel more, I guess, believably hardcore Christian in the book, as opposed to a caricature where he he knows a lot of the history about this sort of stigmata, and he's like going through like there's like 300 and something people in this lineage and Padre Pio and all that other stuff. He definitely knows what he's talking about while also being crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, the when we were watching the movie, Christopher Walken plays one of the main characters, and it's impossible to take that man seriously.
Yes,
which might have just added to
every
the
movie
element.
Every movie I see with Christopher Walken, the second he walks on screen, I laugh.
Yeah.
He doesn't say anything, and I laugh.
Right, and then he says something, and then you laugh more.
Yeah, because he starts saying something. And,
yeah. It's just, it's
he's a bizarre actor, but you always love to see him.
Yeah, I mean, I've never hated him in a movie.
Yeah.
So
you're just like, you see him, and it's like, oh, this is gonna be fucking goofy. Quentin Tarantino really understands that because he just gives him the one scene in Pulp Fiction. And so he is playing Bill Hill, which is kind of the protagonist in the novel.
Certainly a lot more things are from his perspective in...
Yeah. It kind of goes between Bridget Fonda's character, Lynn, and Bill Hill.
Yeah.
At least in the novel. And in the movie, I think it's more Lynn. But anyway. So how does it really start? What's the story here? Bill Hill is this. What does he do again?
He used to be like a evangelist, Like he had a church in, I think he said it was Georgia. And
yeah, it was like a Unitarian kind of church.
yeah, and they had a giant, like, 170-foot cross that said "Jesus saves" on it or something like that.
Oh, right, and that's why he has that necklace. Okay.
Yeah, and he. Oh yeah, to clarify about the necklace, in the movie, several scenes have Christopher Walken wearing a huge gold necklace with a what did it say? "Thank you, Jesus"
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the necklace. Just huge.
Oh, I thought the necklace said Jesus saves for a second there.
No. The necklace said "Thank you, Jesus," I think.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Never mind about the necklace then.
At this point, we'll probably have the visual on screen of the necklace. When I first noticed it, it was surreal.
Yeah.
I think I said he had that Jesus drip or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Some nonsense like that. Zoomer speak.
Hell yeah. So Bill Hill used to be a evangelist. He's tired of selling mobile homes, and he wants to pursue. I guess what he wants to do is be like a record producer, basically, as I understand it. So he wants to kind of be maybe not producer, more of a manager for Juvenile, and to take his act along with what he describes as a Gregorian chants as the album on the road and make some money off it.
Right.
And they create this. They kind of sign this deal with this woman that comes into the story a little bit later. She is the journalist. I can't remember her name.
No idea what her name was. She was like writing articles about the whole thing, and there's also this character that we haven't really talked. Well, we have talked about him, but he's also kind of playing into the story of Juvenile being like this faith healer, who is also another Christian that is aware of his powers. August Murray.
Yeah,
and there's kind of like he's talking to the journalist, trying to get like his group mentioned in the story, to spread the good word. But I think Bill is more interested in it mainly as like a financial thing.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah. There really isn't all that much to the plot when you really get down to it.
It's a really simple kind of.
Juvenile is a faith healer, and there are people that want to talk about it in the media, and people that want to make money off of it.
Yeah,
and it's not even played like you know straight up from the beginning, like, no, it's real. Like, it's not one of those things where you're like, oh, is he faking it? Like, the introduction of the character is Bill is at this like married couple's home, and the husband is like an alcoholic, and his wife is blind, and Juvenile kind of just shows up and heals her blindness.
Yeah,
that's like, it was interesting that if in the last episode of the podcast we mentioned that we were going to be doing this, and I said something about like I don't have any clue what it's about. I had no idea it was going to be about a faith healer.
I honestly didn't know either.
Yeah, so just kind of completely took me off guard.
Yeah, when it started going in the direction of like Jesus stuff, I was like, "Holy shit! What am I reading?"
I mean,
oh, this is a crime novel. What is happening?
Yeah. I mean, that's what Elmore Leonard is known for is like crime thriller novels, but this was just straight up like Jesus takes the wheel, you know?
Yeah, it's like, oh, what if God was one of us? Basically, it's that song. Exactly. In fact, even on this cover that I have, it says a classy mystery. It has guns, sex, con artists, intrigue. True.
Those are all things that happen.
Those are all things that happen.
But
and there is a really really great kind of suspense sequence in the novel that doesn't really translate, at least the way it was shot on film. Not the film, the format, just on the screen. Although I think they did shoot on film. It was the 90s. But anyway, getting off topic. The scene when fucking what's his name, August Elliot Rogers, or attempts to Elliot Roger the what is her name, Lynn, I can't fucking remember any of these characters' names. And so he goes in the movie. It plays out a little bit differently. So it first starts with a kind of daydream sequence of like, maybe magical realist is the word. No, not really that. But what's the word I'm looking for? Dream sequence. We'll probably cut this part out. But what is that word I'm looking for?
What part of you are you referring to? Like,
so I'm talking about. There's this scene in the book that plays out really suspenseful. Is the one scene where when I was like, oh, what's going to happen, kind of thing. Was the scene when he breaks in and is about to shoot her.
Oh, yes.
In the novel, in the movie, it doesn't really hit as hard, I think, as in the novel.
Right, because in the novel, the scene starts where he is thinking to himself how the entire event is going to play out, and it's played pretty straight, and he's like, kind of just talking about how, he's going to go in and, say this sort of proclamation and shoot her, and he had like newspaper on the floor and like all this other stuff, and he talks about how he's going to like convince Juvenile that killing his girlfriend was the right thing to do. And in in the movie, it's just another scene that's kind of like the St. Augustine scene minus the shitty Roman clothing, where he's just standing there holding the gun, and he's like, oh, this is all sinful and I'm gonna kill you.
I think he says like, God, what does he say? I can't even remember.
It's some self-righteous speech that he gives, and then in the movie he shoots her twice, and they get a nice squib going with the
but that's in the dream version.
That's in
that he daydreams first. And then he goes in and does it, and
it fails miserably.
And when I first read it, it didn't quite register that he had thrown him off the kind of railing. Right. I thought he had just shot him. And maybe he did. I don't know.
I was like, what the hell is going on? And then it was like, August tried to shoot Lynn, and Juvenile grabbed him and just kind of pushed him off the railing. And he fell out of like a second-story window. And in the book, they described it as like they looked down at him and his hands were up as if he were surrendering. Which was a pretty funny line. But then in the movie, he throws him over the edge, and you hear like this goofy fake like crack sound of him hitting the ground. And then it just shows him laying there. His glasses are like still on his face too. He and his hands were not up.
It's the first time we've been kind of at a loss for words what to say about something.
It was I guess we kind of went into it expecting it to be like a crime thriller kind of thing because of the author.
Right,
but it just wasn't that. Really.
And I think he is known for kind of more comedic stuff, but because he also wrote Rum Punch, which was Jackie Brown.
Okay.
I haven't read any more Elmore Leonard beyond that.
Neither have I. This might actually be a shorter episode.
I think it will. I will say the one kind of thematic element of this movie that I thought, or maybe not the movie, but the book, I definitely noticed it. And there was one scene in the movie was it kind of connects to when I talked about the Pope's Exorcist a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
About evil being humorless and good being having a sense of humor and not taking life quote unquote seriously,
Yeah,
which
the
they kind
whole
of touch
dialogue
on.
sequence where they kind of talk about um, taking life very seriously or not. That was Lynn and Juvenile have that like dialogue, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, the funny thing is I actually had a point to make about the what I thought the themes of the book were, and then the movie totally threw me off because it played it so much like a comedy that I couldn't extract the same message from it because it seemed to just kind of be funny and gloss over what the ending kind of was going for in the book. Because
Yeah, yeah,
in the way that the story ends, to kind of just explain that, is that Juvenile goes on this talk show, and in the book it's a male host. I forget his name, um, and in
Howard
the
something.
something like that, Howard something, and in the movie it's a woman played by Gina
Gershon.
Gershon, who was in
Howard
uh,
Hart was his
Howard
name.
Hart. She was
Yeah.
Gina Gershon was in probably saying her last name wrong. She was in Face Off, the John Woo movie.
Yeah, I think she's in Showgirls too, which I still need to watch.
Mm.
Yeah, these are all movies from 1997, I believe,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
um, and so
So what was the thematic thing you were getting from it before the movie?
right. So she goes, Juvenile goes on the talk show, and the talk show host basically uses this, like, obviously to us we know, seeing the actual matter of fact like things that have happened, that he is really is a faith healer, like he actually can cure people of incurable things just
Yeah,
by touching them. But the host kind of just uses the entire show to try and make him come off as just that he's just scamming people and he's in it for the money. Um,
right.
because Bill Hill, the character, is in it for the money, and he signs up like this whole like book deal and all this other stuff with Juvenile and this journalist lady. And in the book, it was he was going to get paid $1 million, but in the movie, it was only 600,000. They lowered it, um, and the so it's kind of just like, they're making a mockery of him on TV, and Lynn, who is Juvenile's like girlfriend, probably like soon to be wife, I guess at that point,
Yeah.
uh kind of comes onto the show because she was like backstage, and she comes on to the interview and is trying to like she's trying to protect him from the host. This doesn't happen in the movie. In the movie, she comes out onto the stage and basically just says like, I have nothing to say to you, and then they just bum rush to the end of the movie at that point. uh
Yeah, yeah.
but in the book, uh she kind of has, this whole, she's defending his character and so on. And Juvenile, after having thrown August off of the balcony in the previous chapter, uh August is brought on the show in like a full body cast, like that guy in SpongeBob with the paper skin and glass bones.
Yep.
Um, and Juvenile touches him, and he like cracks out of his full body cast like a bird being fucking birthed from an egg.
Yeah.
Like,
And the right when he does it, there's another one of those like dream scenes of Skeet Ulrich doing this like fucking cum shot face. Like I don't know what the fuck that was about. Like,
I might have to rewatch that. I don't think I saw. I don't think I read his facial expression as you did. But
yeah, I'm a psycho, so whatever.
Fair enough. And so in the book, after the whole interview where Lynn and Juvenile are kind of made to look like fools on this talk show, they kind of just leave, and then it ends on the host of the TV show kind of getting calls from different people watching the show, and it's
Yeah.
like summarizing the kind of modern perspective on this faith healer, where they're just like, oh, how did he do that? And it's a shame to, or it's a sin to masquerade this promiscuous sex as true love or something with Juvenile and his girlfriend and all that. And the theme I kind of got was like there can be something that is so blatantly good, like right before people's eyes, and they will just kind of ignore it and focus on the negative, or like be held up by their own like preconceived notions of things. And
Yeah,
just,
they're getting bogged down by particulars and not by like essentials. And
right,
shit.
exactly. It was like the obviousness of the thing that occurred. Obviously, if this happened in real life, you would be like, well, that's fucking bullshit. Like, that's not real.
Right.
But like within the context of the story, it seems to be the kind of thematic thing that I saw anyway, was people focusing on like particular negatives, or like being hung up on their own weird entrenched values.
Yeah.
Instead of taking what's in front of you for what it is. But the movie did not give me that impression at all, because it bum rushed the ending and it was just a joke. That's kind of.
I think there are parts in the movie that are good, but overall, I think it's a weaker Paul Schrader movie.
Yeah,
I have to say.
I wasn't particularly a fan of it. I didn't hate it, but
it's watchable.
I rarely find myself in a position where I hate a movie.
Yeah.
So that I might just be too forgiving. Who knows?
Perhaps.
But there was a point you made earlier. It was like near the beginning of the movie. You described it as the kind of movie you put on in the background while you're folding laundry.
Yes.
that is the most ruthless description of a movie I've ever heard.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you could fold laundry to this.
Yeah, this is just kind of happening. It's 90 minutes, like, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not really much to say. The movie is just kind of okay, and the book is really good. It's just like, yeah, it's good. Really.
Yeah, I like his writing style. It was very engaging.
Yeah, he, especially when you have to like read it in 2 days. He gets you to turn the page, as they say.
For sure. Yeah. If anything, it got me to think that I want to read more Elmore Leonard books. So
yes,
that is the positive experience to have been gained from this.
Yeah, the book is overall totally positive experience, so definitely would recommend it. Not that we're like a recommend show or anything.
Yeah.
But I think there's something else. Same thing we talked.
Book. I heard that the pages.
Yeah.
ASMR.
Got my going. So, kind of similar to what we were talking about on the audition episode. There's he's using the kind of this is as far as I can tell, it's pretty common in the kind of crime thriller type thing. Is this? I think it's third person limited. I think is the tense or the perspective of there's an omniscient narrator, but when we're obviously in the perspective of another character, it kind of changes the style or the way this like sentence construction to match the mood of that character. And I just find that as a really engaging kind of style.
Yeah.
And I always like seeing that.
And that's another thing that I want to point out that you just reminded me that I had kind of mentioned it when we were watching the movie. But
yeah,
the character of Lynn comes off way more almost ditzy in the movie than she was in the book. In the book, she was like, she is... What was her job? It was like she was bringing records to like radio stations and stuff. Like she was a record producer or something.
I think she was like a marketing kind of rep. Or
she was like a marketing
sales rep.
She was a
record company.
A lady with a position in a company.
Yeah,
to put it very vaguely.
This bitch got a job.
She pursues her values, is what I'm saying. She's pursuing values.
She's living life.
Yeah, staying alive, pursuing values. And she came off as a lot more of like a headstrong kind of character in the book. At least that's the impression I got from her dialogue. She was very in control.
She kind of commands the presence of the room.
Yeah, commanding presence. She controls the dialogue whenever she's communicating with someone, and I just didn't get that at all from her character in the movie.
Yeah.
Now the movie was playing it as a comedy, so I can't really be like upset with the actress or anything.
No.
She was just playing it as a different kind of character.
I liked Skeet Ulrich as like Smells Like Teen Jesus.
Yep.
That was
young Johnny cool. Depp with a goatee looking guy.
Yeah. The villain from Scream.
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's a spoiler for a movie from fucking 1997. It's over.
92, I think.
92? Oh shit, that movie's even older than I thought.
I think. I gotta look it up now.
I'm gonna guess 94. Now that we're
96.
96. Actually. Okay, so I was closer originally.
Yes.
Yeah. Good actors.
Yeah.
Not.
It's a aggressively okay movie.
Yeah.
Like
that's kind of a shame because Christopher Walken and I haven't really seen Skeet Ulrich in a few other in many other things. I did like Scream when I saw it.
Yeah.
It's been a while, but
it's a bit oversaturated, I think. But the first movie is good.
Yeah, it was novel, I guess, for the time.
And speaking of novel, the novel's really good.
Yeah.
Of Touch.
Yeah, high five on that one.
Oh yeah, and Touch. This was the other thing we wanted to talk about. There's a scene in the movie where the kid.
Oh shit! Yes. Yeah, he heals this kid that had like leukemia or something.
Something like that. Oh. Like lymphatic nymphoma. I don't know.
Nymphomaniac.
He was an 10-year-old boy.
He was an emphatic lymphomaniac. I think that's what it was.
Yeah. We are definitely trained doctors, TM.
Anyway, he heals this kid. And
he heals the kid, and later on in the movie, he has a shirt on that says, "I was touched by juvenile."
Yeah. That was probably the scene that was like the most satire-ish of the entire.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even like a thing they drew attention to. It was just the shirt the kid was wearing.
Yeah, it was just in the background.
He wasn't like the kid never had like the shirt. It was like kind of wrinkled, and he wasn't even fully in frame. But you could clearly read that it said, "I was touched by juvenile." And
or it might have just been touched by juvenile or something.
I'm pretty sure it was. I thought it was juvenile touched me or something like that.
Yeah, that might have been.
I can't remember the exact wording, but it was just like the most absurd thing to see. Like I referenced Paul Verhoeven earlier, but that is some shit right out of one of his fucking movies, or at least the Starship Troopers or RoboCop. Like just so ridiculously, it's like some shit out of GTA where everything's just like a parody world.
Yeah. So like I said, there's good parts in the movie, but overall, I don't really think it comes together.
No, it was good for a laugh. And,
it's one of those that like either you put it on folding laundry, or you got some friends over and you just throw a movie on while you're talking about random shit.
Yep,
that's the kind of movie it is. But the book is really good. Read it.
I think we've come to the end. I don't think there's much else to say.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a short episode. So I think what is going to happen next is we'll be putting this episode up hopefully we're recording this on June 11th, Sunday, hopefully by tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So June 12th. And we will have one more episode on the bi-weekly format. That'll be on the 26th is when that will go up. And after that, we're going to hopefully transition into a weekly format.
Yeah, that'll be exciting.
So hopefully we'll have more things to talk about with regard to the selections we take in the future.
Yep.
But I think that'll wrap it up for this episode of Sense of Life. Thank you for joining us.
Yep. See you next time.